Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I have been boasting about my down-the-street neighbor Margaret for the past 2 weeks. On a visit, I found her daughter in her mid-50s was taking all her money. I contacted the social worker and some of it was resolved, but I stayed with Margaret for a few days and went home. Well, I walked in on my daughter screaming at Margaret and slapping her. I recorded it from the driveway. I promptly called the police and she was arrested. Margaret has been staying at my house the past week, and through many police detective visits, both questioning her and me, they asked her for her bank records, which she happily handed over. Yesterday, her daughter had her day in court, a preliminary hearing. I googled the docket and asked my friend to attend because I wanted to know what was going on. Margaret told me her daughter has completely cleared her bank account of a life savings of over 500,000 Canadian dollars over 3 years, plus another 90,000 that was stolen from her pensions. After all the charges were read, the Crown Attorney asked the judge for her to be held in jail until her plea is made for her trial or sentencing is held. Well, the courts are packed up and that won't be for another 7 weeks. And guess what? She's being held in jail without bail. I didn't realize how seriously the courts take elder abuse. From what I was told, she's facing a minimum of 16 months in jail and a maximum of 26 months. Plus, the courts are going to go through the process of helping Margaret recover her lost funds. Margaret is going to stay with us for another 2 weeks until school starts. We invited her up to the cottage with us, and she accepted. So yeah, my kid, my sister, my mom, my sister's girlfriend, and Margaret are all up at the lake. I'm a youth sports coach, and whatever stories you've heard about insane parents, it can be even worse than that. I'm in a league where parents are already planning out their kids' target colleges before they can walk. But most of the kids are completely average, because that's what average means, and because other schools have the luxury of players who want to participate. I have kids who were pressured into the game by mom and dad, so they don't bring the same heart to the field. It makes it quite difficult to read them. For example, I only just got out of a dispute that's been ongoing for over 3 months. A sweet but clumsy sophomore who has fun with his teammates but is overall completely indifferent to the sport was out indefinitely with a serious rotator cuff injury. He'd had surgery and he was still sitting in on practices at his parents' insistence, but by no means was he taking a step in the direction of the field. He never complained or protested, like my die-hard kids who want to be here do, often to their own detriment. He was just as happy to sit and play video games. Great, the best player you can hope for is one who doesn't rush recovery. I was proud of and relieved by how he was handling things. So one day, not even 3 weeks after his surgery, his mom shows up and says, "Alright, my son's cleared to play. He can't start again today. Maybe someone should take some time to work with him one-on-one to get him caught up, I was surprised. But I am not a doctor, so if they cleared him, he's clear. But as is protocol, I asked for an official letter from the medical office approving his return to practice for the team's files. His mom was flabbergasted. "I don't have it with me. Who carries that around?" It hadn't even occurred to me that she might be doing something so brazen and reckless as what she was doing. So without skipping a beat, I cheerfully said, "No worries. You can hang with us while you run home and fax it or email it to me." She stuttered for a second and finally came up with, "I don't have time to go all the way home. I have another appointment." It was then that I noticed her son was looking kind of uncomfortable throughout all of this. And while he isn't our most enthusiastic guy, I would have still expected him to be psyched to return to practice after sitting patiently on the sidelines for such a long hiatus. So while I might have agreed to wait until the next day to see the letter in any other case, knowing the player would start back by easing in very slowly regardless, I knew this time I had to see written proof before so much as giving the kid a light stretch routine. I told the mom, So I'll just give his doctor's official a call, and they can send a letter to us. It's still early and we can catch them if we call right now. And I stood there expectantly waiting for her to call. She gasped and she stuttered some more before finally blurting out, "He isn't being treated by a Western big pharma doctor. He's on an essential oil regimen." I didn't know whether to laugh or start shouting. It was so ridiculous that she was even positing to treat an internal injury with essential oils. But even more infuriating that she would risk her son's health just to get him back in practice a few weeks early. I couldn't tell straight away if she genuinely thought the oils had healed his shoulder, which still visibly appeared to be causing him pain, or if she was just saying that to try and get out of producing the litter she didn't have because he was seeing a doctor who had not cleared him yet. I was stuck at that point and called another coach over to confer privately. After giving her a rundown of the situation, she suggested a foolproof plan. I returned to the boy's mother and said, "So I just talked with some other members of the staff and I have great news. The team physician can do a routine post-OP exam right now and write a letter." Thankfully, she didn't call my bluff because while we do have a team physician, you have to make appointments with him a week or more in advance. So his mother says she isn't comfortable with him seeing a strange doctor. I reiterate that this is our team physician who has assisted her son whenever he's been injured on the field, not a stranger to him. She pivoted back to not trusting Western medicine and wanting to maintain the essential oil plan. She started going off about how all these scans are going to give him radiation poisoning and so on. So I told her I couldn't help her and sent her on her way. Her son was mouthing, "Sorry, coach," to me as she gave her speech, and I knew then that I had done the right thing. You could see in his eyes that he had nothing to do with this scheme to rush back on the field. She stormed off, absolutely irate, cursing me and even some players from her own son's team who passed her on the way out, and continued making a scene in the front until someone from marching band practice asked her to leave because they literally could not hear all of the instruments with the way she was carrying on. Not even 24 hours later, the principal and head of athletics each received letters from a law firm accusing us of discriminating against their son and preventing him from playing because of the family's belief in alternative medicine. To be abundantly clear, a shoulder injury is very serious, especially at her son's age. If he didn't take the proper steps for recovery, he could be stuck with a lifetime of pain and not just never play sports again, but never lift anything or hold basic positions without mind-bending pain. Not to mention the potentially permanent mobility problems if he were to re-injure himself by playing contact sports while hurt. So in short, this was a matter of way more than jostling for authority with a parent or personal views about healthcare. It was an issue of my players' physical safety. And it was a hill I was more than willing to die on. I was prepared to pay out of my own pocket for a lawyer and say all of that in court if need be. I was in no position to do so financially, but I didn't care. Like I said, I would die on this hill. The principal showed the letter to his lawyer's wife, who suggested we just ignore it and see if the kid's mom would just tire of investing time and money into the situation. I know what you're thinking, and you're exactly right. She was not going down that easily. She was back with a lawyer in person at a practice the following week. He tried to tell me something about how, as a team at a public school, I could not prevent her son from participating because of the family's personal beliefs, and every child had a right to participate in public school activities. Well, I couldn't be further from a lawyer, but that was still easy even for me. Dude, this is a tryout team. No one is guaranteed participation, and I can cut players for any reason I see fit. That stymied him, and I think he told the boy's mother that she was out of options, but I guess she kept sending him checks because he kept writing us letters. Out of an abundance of caution, since you never know how far a crazy person is willing to take a thing like this, or how much money she has to pursue the issue, I had a consultation with an attorney of my own. I gave her all the documents to review, and once she was finished laughing uncontrollably, She told me not to think twice about this and to only come back if I was served with actual papers to appear in court. 6 weeks later, I was back in her office. The boy's mother was bringing the school into a civil suit, and I had been called to testify. I met with a lawyer, and I'm lucky she was so honest. She told me the district would probably have a counsel for me and to wait before cutting her any checks. She was right. So I was in a big hurried meeting preparing for this case. All of the team posters were there, as were top administrators I'd only ever heard the name of but never seen in person, and even more people who I've already forgotten because these meetings were such a stressful blur. It was getting very serious very quickly. More than once I was pulled aside by someone with more important places to be and asked if I couldn't just clear the kid to play. By the time things began to wrap up, I was making good and frequent use of that Randy Jackson meme. Yeah, that's going to be a no from me. We were about a week and a half out from the first official court date and in serious discussions with the school's council about actually just buying these people off of the team and settling out of court if they agreed to walk away from the sport and drop the issue. No one wanted to hear me explain all the reasons why that would never work. I was just leaving a smaller one of these strategy meetings when I saw the kid loitering outside of my office. I knew I wasn't supposed to speak to any of them, but the kid had been really cool throughout the whole ordeal, and he definitely wished he wasn't associated with any of his mom's wild antics. So I cautiously approached, and before I could even say anything, the kid dragged his dad out from around the corner. So I cautiously approached, and before I could even say anything, the kid dragged his dad out from around a corner. His dad seemed concerned his wife might drop out of a ceiling grate or something like that. His son was determined and prodded him, saying, "Do it, let's go." His dad keeping his head on a constant swivel, he quietly said, "I understand you can have my son cleared by a team physician." I nodded, and the dad hesitated. But the son was clearly fed up, and staring daggers at the man he goes, "Okay then, let's get going. Sign what you need to sign for me to see who I need to see." My guess is he didn't want to be known as a player who testified against his team, because parents are chatty and everyone at school definitely knew about what was going on. The poor henpecked guy kept saying quietly enough that his son couldn't hear, "Listen, if my wife ever found out about this, holy hell. Can you please just not make a big scene with it? Just say he was cleared to play, no need to advertise how it happened, okay?" I assured him that not only would I never advertise a student's private business for social clout, but that when it came to medical issues, I was legally prohibited from sharing information with anyone. So I sent one of the only messages flagged urgent that I have ever had to direct to our team doctor, and by the end of the day, our highly relieved strategy team was able to place a call informing the mother that her son was cleared to return to practice. Now, don't get this twisted. I didn't ram his recovery paperwork through a back channel to end the suit or alleviate pressure from the administration. His mom had dragged this whole ordeal out so long that he'd actually fully healed. Our doctor was able to pass him with flying colors. She still isn't the worst parent I've had to deal with hostility-wise, but certainly the most serious matter. Other people get into it with us over playing time, game schedules, or even their kid's uniform number. This is the only one I can remember being this negligent with her son's physical well-being. So it will always rank highest as my worst parent experience. It was just finally confirmed that I'm 100% free of all the legal brouhaha, so I can gleefully share the story, with strangers at least. I don't want to put the kid on blast in our tiny community, but I do want to vent to a whole bunch of people. So everyone, play safe out there. And thanks if you've read this far. So I work at an ice cream shop in Germany, and I don't really know if I qualify as a server, as we only offer self-service. As a customer, you would come up to me, say what you want, pay, and then either leave to eat your ice cream somewhere else or stay at a table. With the pandemic, we had a few rules at the time. Only outside seating was available, and you would have to fill in your personal details on a piece of paper in order for us to contact you if something happens. Also, you would have to ask the employee first whether you could sit at one of the tables. The tables even have big stickers on them telling you to please contact the staff first before seating yourself, as you need to receive that detailed paper. This part is important. I had 4 middle-aged friends coming in. The entitled people of the story immediately go into an inside table and taking down the chairs on top of them. Remember that inside seating was forbidden at the time as to why the chairs were up in the first place. I politely informed them that we are not allowed to have inside seating and they would have to come up to me to order first anyway. The oldest entitled guy said smugly, "Oh, we have been coming here for years, it's fine. Are you new? We always sit here." I was a bit perplexed at this point as I have been working here for 6 years and have never seen them before. To avoid any unnecessary small talk, I just informed them about me being a long-time employee and that with the current COVID rules, some things are being handled differently now. I explained how our system works now and asked if they wanted to take a seat outside after getting their ice cream, after writing down their details. "We have to give you our details? Why? We come here often," the entitled guy said. "It's a COVID rule, which applies to every shop offering food in our region, as it has been for months, I should add." The entitled friends just grumbled, rolled their eyes and ordered. I had to inform all of them separately that they should not take their masks off their mouths when talking to me, as I could understand them just fine. Whatever. They finally paid and I asked whether they wanted to sit outside, as I would happily bring them the paper they would have to fill out. The oldest guy just shrugs and says, "No, we will not be staying at one of your tables. Don't worry." Not gonna lie, I was quite happy that they were not intending to stay. They went out around the corner and I served some more people and after a while, finally got the time to go outside and disinfect the tables people were sitting at before. I looked to my left and there the entitled group is, happily sitting at the last table around the corner, the only one that I can see from inside. They noticed me and just stared, one lady even rolling her eyes again. I sighed and got back inside to get them a paper to write their details on. It is policy after all, and I don't want trouble. "Hello, you will have to fill in your details before you leave, alright?" More stares. I just turned around awkwardly and only heard the faint, "Why does it apply to us?" behind me, while already walking back inside. Sorry, it's the policy. Make it short, in the end, of course, when I came back to check on them, they were gone, with the paper still laying there untouched. I just thought to myself, well, if you don't want to get a notification if someone near you has had COVID and you could be at risk because of that, it is not my problem at all. Oh, just to mention, their table was a mess. I don't know if any ice cream even made its way into their mouths or just ended up on the seats and table immediately. The only other experiences with customers like this include various ways of how to not wear a mask properly. But who can even expect that after over a year of this pandemic?
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.